Kia ora and welcome to Tarmac. I am Dave.
And I'm Matthew, and even though you can't sense it from my voice, I'm absolutely overjoyed today because we've got an Alfa Romeo here.
You're such an Alfreezy. Anyway, you're an Alfa fan. Good grief. Yes, right, we've got the new, what do you call it?
The Giulia Veloce Carbon.
See, he's also almost got the Italian accent and it's just loaded with carbon. So let's come and take a closer look at this. So the Giulia itself has been around since 2016. So it's actually which surprised me, it has been around quite a long time. But in true Alfa format, this is only going through its sort of midlife sort of update as such now. So that means this model is probably going to be around for about 30 years, I guess. Externally, not much has gone on, to be honest. Most of it's in the cabin, which Matthew will show you about in a minute. But this is really about these added bits of carbon garnish, which is just phenomenal, actually. As I said, not much has gone on in the nose point of view. It's still got these nice big air vents here. The headlights are by Xenon, 35 watts, so plenty of light at night, which is what you're going to need. The shield here, or the tri-lobe, is where the first bit of carbon you see, which is around here. It's a really nice big V shape, and you know, let's face it, the carbon accents they have put on is going to be 10 grand's worth. So you want to see it as many places as you can. And let's look around the side for the next bit. So continuing with the carbon theme, there's carbon mirror caps here, carbon along the running boards or across the sills here, which aren't running boards, they're obviously sills. Moving further forward now, you've got the 19-inch feet, which are such a good looking set of alloys with these sort of five cloverleaf sort of openings. Funny enough, they're basically, there's more rubber on the front than on the back, and also they're two 25s on the front and two 55s on the back. It's a really weird combination, but it sort of seems to work. Let's have a look around the back. And the final piece of exterior pièce de la résistance, I think that's actually French rather than Italian, but anyway, is this beautiful spoiler here. It really is. It's probably my favourite part, apart from, you know, the bit around the front. But this is really awesome. Rest of it, you know about the tail lights. The exhaust pipes actually work, you can see, and there's a nice lower splitter here. Very cool. Let's look under the bonnet. So under this shapely bonnet lies a 2-litre turboed engine that gives you 206 kilowatts of power, 400 newton meters of torque. I mean, there's quite a lot coming from a 2-litre turbo. 0 to 100 in 5.7 seconds, which is not bad considering this isn't the hyped up supercharged, you know, the super one. And then, so look at this lovely Alfa Romeo cowl. You know, you can't go wrong with that. Fuel economy is 6.1 litres per 100 kilometres, and it's also out the exhausts, basically 141 grams per kilometre. So it's starting to get there as far as fuel efficiency goes and also emissions, so not bad. Speaking of things that are efficient and, I don't know, don't spout a whole heap of carbons, you never know. Matthew's inside, whereas there's plenty more going on in there.
Well, I'm an honest person, so I've got to admit that my stomach hasn't been the best this week, so the carbon emissions has been on the higher side. And even though I haven't been feeling that well, I mean, when you just look at this Alfa cabin and that badge and everything, the troubles of the world just float away, honestly. Well, it is an Alfa Romeo, so there must be leather on the inside, and there is quite a bit of it. Firstly, you have this dashboard, which is covered in some soft leather with a nice stitching on it. The door panels as well, covered in more leather with some stitching on them. And then the seats with their nice chunky bolsters and soft Italian leather. And this Alcantara sort of material on the inside. Very nice and comfortable. Because this is the carbon package, there's the addition here of this carbon fiber panel over there. There's carbon fiber in the middle here. There's carbon fiber around the door handles there. And you also get carbon fiber door sills, which say Alfa Romeo in highlighted letters on them. While not much has changed on the outside, because of course it might have aged 5 years in time, but it doesn't look like it, and certainly doesn't need a facelift, unlike maybe me or Dave. But the significant change on the inside here is especially this touchscreen, which has gone from whatever small size it used to be before to something like 8.8 inches. So it's a lot clearer, and they've updated the software there, so it works a lot smoother now. The second major change in here is this gear shifter, which is now covered in leather. Feels a lot nicer to hold. And it's highlighted in this little nice sort of plastic chrome looking material with the Italian flag on there. Nice cool little touch there. Speaking of cool little touches, you also get a special space for your key, and they've redesigned the cup holders, I believe, so you can have a bit more storage down here. Also these knobs and things, Alfa's DNA system, nothing new, but it's still very cool to point out. What is new is the wireless phone charger, which is just hidden in there and fits the biggest phones frankly in the industry, and the nifty feature is that it stops charging at 90% so then your phone doesn't overheat. See, it's the little details with Alfa. Speaking of little details, let's jump into that touchscreen and see what's new. Firstly, as you can see from there, the screen is bigger. They've laid it out differently now and it's much faster to use. So you've got all your standard stuff there, the radio, navigation, phone, blah, blah, blah. But the driver assistance and the safety, that's where they've really gone crazy and brought it up to speed with the Germans especially. So you go in there, now you've got active blind spot assist, lane keep assist, forward collision warning, driver attention assist, a speed limiter, parking sensors, and the list sort of goes on. So they really brought it into 2021 and really made it competition for the BMW 3 Series especially. You also get some nice graphs which tell you about your consumption and your torque and the boost pressure of your turbo and all that stuff, because you need to know all of that. It's an Alfa Romeo. It makes you emotional about driving. It's an N right now because we've not been driving much and it's sort of Alfa's comfort mode. But just after I take a look at the steering, we'll switch it into D and take it for a real drive. So firstly, the steering wheel, it just looks so good as a piece of art, if you like. This black and white badge and the lovely leather, the thumb grips, that flat bottom and this deep sort of dished effect. It's very nice. And also, just like a Ferrari, it has the start button right there, so a little bit exotic. In front of you, you have those analog dials. Well, everybody else is doing digital dials in 2021. Alfa have chosen to stick with the analog dials, and so should they, because I mean, it's just beautiful. It's got Alfa Romeo written there. Everything you want, frankly. It's nice and simple. You get, your revs on the left and temperature and your speed on the right. In the center, well, that screen can be changed depending on what you want to see. So you can either have oil pressure or something like that. You can keep pressing the button on the stalk there to change it. So there's that sort of ability to customize as well. Speaking of changing modes, let's change the mode into dynamic and take it for a proper drive.
All right, so the Giulia has been around for a while, and this is the 2021 model, as we know, and to be honest, they haven't done too much to it, apart from, well, actually, they don't need to do too much to it. That's what's so good about this vehicle. It is a driver's car. Many vehicle manufacturers claim to be driver's cars, but this really does make you want to drive, and it's something unique about it. There's something cool about the way it takes corners, the way that it just feels, and the way you feel when you're driving it.
I mean, just as every other automotive journalist has said, there's something about Giulia there. It's a pretty special car, no doubt, and I think that's really living up to Alfa's slogan, which is the mechanics of emotion, because whatever they've done with this car, the way it makes you feel, that's what's important about it.
Yeah, getting the basics out of the way to start off with, you guys have probably seen many videos about the Giulia. Seating position's really good. There's you feel cosseted in these seats. The steering wheel feels great in the hand. Your positioning's really good. You got the electric seat, so there's plenty of ways to get comfortable and ready to where you are. And just something about the push button being on the steering wheel and the paddles to be able to drop down. They're big metal aluminium paddles that just respond really nicely, and that's cool. So as far as the driver goes, visibility is good. I really love these A pillars. There's they sort of taper out, so the visibility is really good. And you know, there's plenty of room in the back to see. There's not very much room in the back to sit, but there's plenty to see.
And I think, all that makes you feel really special, and Alfas do that really well. And one of the main things in here is, of course, the carbon fiber, because you see all this carbon fiber on, really expensive cars, but then this Alfa does it, and there's so much in the interior and the outside without being, really wallet breaking or future breaking, if you like.
Yeah, the added garnish is great. I mean, who doesn't want garlic bread with their pizza, right? Who doesn't want just that little bit of extra specialness about your meal, about your anything really? And that's what this carbon fiber does. It just elevates it that little bit more. Sure, is 10 grand, but it's 10 grand. If you had 10 grand, it's worth it,
No, he's absolutely right, and I rarely tend to agree with him, as it turns out.
Yeah, you want to agree with me all the time.
Well, I certainly agree with him about this Alfa, because it's, there's some places where the plastics are not the best and all that stuff, but when you just look at this interior and the styling and the materials and the way everything just flows, it's so dramatic, but I just love it, which is probably why I ended up buying an Alfa.
Yeah, you're a sorry case. Have you driven it yet? Anyway, the tech is been brought up to date, as Matthew points out. It's still slightly sluggish in my opinion. It's there. You've got the blind spot monitoring. You've got the adaptive cruise. You've got you've got all the stuff, the safety measures that you'd expect in a modern car, and this is basically a modern car that's been brought up to modern spec.
And it may just be my, Alfisty inner self talking, but whatever they've done with the exhaust note of that 2-liter turbo engine, it sounds different, and it sounds a little bit more special than all the other manufacturers, because everybody does 2-liter turbo engines these days, and they all tend to sound the same way in some way or form, but this Alfa is just a little bit more special in the noise it makes.
Some of the claims are not quite there, though. According to the screen here, 9.2 litres per 100 kilometres is a bit way off from where they said it was. And I've done a 286 round trip down to Hamilton and back. So there's been a lot of motorway driving and things like that, and I haven't really pushing it now. And so my worries and concerns about fuel economy are completely irrelevant, because I just want to drive this car, and while it dances so nicely, the steering feels positive and nippy and just so responsive, so alive. There's a slogan in there.
It's a typical Alfa trait to have that faster, sharper steering wheel, and it's definitely, something to get used to, but it's just what sets the driving apart so much from the Germans is just the way it feels in your hand and the way it responds around the corners. It's just so special.
And this is just the rear-wheel drive model, and it's just so nippy and so license losing. So there you have it, the Alfa Giulia Carbon. It's a modern day classic that has just been given extra garnish and just made technically modern and up to date. Excellent.
But still, it's very much a proper Alfa. Does it look good? Yes, it does.
Ticks that box.
Yep. Does it drive well? Yes, it definitely does.
2 ticks for that one.
And does it make you feel special?
I always feel special. No, it really does. It does make you feel special. It does bring you alive. It gives you that sense of, Italian flair and just so much fun.
Definitely makes all the cares of the world just go away.
Just gone from those 2 wheels. Love it. Thanks for watching. You know what to do. Subscribe somewhere.
And as always, we'll see you next time.
See you.